listening to the Mobcast Network.
Welcome to the Cult Movie Cantina.
Hello. Yes, welcome.
This is your podcast that looks at some of your favorite cult films.
We do.
Adds an alcoholic beverage.
Usually.
And then we talk about it.
We do.
I'm your Native American pop culture spirit guide, Scotty, and I'm joined by, as always, Stephanie's not here. She is not feeling well, so she's under the weather, so she'll be back with us in a couple of weeks. And we have...
Jestina, your Jellicle Jester. Forgot
She
my
who
name.
knows no movies.
She who knows no movies.
Admiral.
At your service.
At ease. Gentlemen, at ease.
We're also joined by
Calm down.
producer number 2.
Number 2.
With a new angle.
Yeah, with a new angle. We're trying to...
Yeah.
We've been changing things in the studio because I've cleaned the studio.
You can't tell, I'm sure, based on number 2's angle. But that's the dirtiest corner of the office.
Right, and it's not that
Like,
bad.
we've cleaned, and then it's just everything's in his camera.
I think it works great, though, having the nerd stuff back there. It
Right,
Okay.
it's good
Okay.
background also. Well, as some of you know, I own a toy store, and sometimes the toy store throws up into this office, and so
Often.
Yeah.
and
Often it
I have
does
to, when I buy collections, I have nowhere to store it. It sits here until I can get it
The toy store is a living being.
It is
You
a
have to-
it is a definitely a living being.
Not after midnight, though. Don't feed it after midnight.
You can find us on any fine podcast app. We're also on Facebook at facebook.com/Cult Movie Cantina. And we're on YouTube. You can see our smiling faces at youtube.com/Mopcast Network. And we're on TikTok at Mopcast. We've actually posted TikToks as of recently. I'm very happy about that. So go follow us on TikTok. We're going to make some fun things for this one. You have a rant?
Okay, listen. I'm very tired today. I went on my longest mountain bike ride through Blakely State Park.
Yeah, mountain biking is new for you. We haven't heard
It
about your
is.
mountain biking adventure. You
Okay.
you and I
Okay, so
talked
I guess
about
I'll
this when you
start with
came and shot the commercial for me.
And
Yeah.
you talked a little bit about that.
I had just come from a mountain biking
Yeah.
competition for the last one.
Yeah.
I was a little inebriated. I'm not today. I'm just tired, but that's okay. So let's start at the beginning. It was, I'm going to assume sunny day. It was a Saturday in 1989 on the 15th of July when I was birthed from my mother. No, we're going to fast forward. That's too long ago. So as you guys know.
She's just hinting that her birthday's coming up.
As you all know, I was in an accident just over a year ago where I still have lasting issues to my left ankle. And from that, I have a difficult time skating like I used to. I can probably leisure skate just fine, but any sort of hard impact flares up my old lady plantar's fasciitis I am now cursed with. Thank you, people who just run into other people. Anyway, so I took the year off. I was also I was burned out from Derby, so I just needed a year. I've been the president of the board for 3 years through COVID. It was a lot. And so I stepped back. This is actually going to come back in later conversation. It's going to be great. So during that time, my boss actually mountain bikes, Drew.
Yeah,
What is
Drew-
his name?
Kohos.
Kohos,
from
yes.
the Catacombs, which we need to do again.
Yes. And the Star Wars stuff when he was on it.
Yeah, when we were doing the Star Wars stuff.
So he mountain bikes, and we were talking about it one time, and I've been very interested, and so he was saying, like, oh, maybe that won't hurt your ankle. Well, the mountain bike community that he's a part of all got together, and they actually bought me a mountain bike. So I got it, oh, gosh, I don't even know, like a month to 2 months? No, probably just like a month ago. It hasn't been super long. So I will go join them on rides. I'm not to a point where I feel super comfortable doing it by myself yet. I got my first flat tire last week. I went riding on Tuesday with Drew because we thought it was going to be the only day because it was going to rain all week, and then it didn't because welcome to the South. And I got my first flat tire, so I changed my first flat tire by myself because I'm very stubborn. Like, I went to the place and I was like, got my first flat tire. I don't know what I need. Can you help me? And they gave me a tube.
Where they're like, we can do it for you. And you're like,
no. It was, listen, it was one of the
like,
most.
hey, little lady, you don't know how to get your hands dirty.
Kind of, but if I'm uncomfortable, I crack jokes. Okay.
Like everyone else on this podcast.
Right. So the series
Most of this podcast
events,
is just being uncomfortable together.
and just cracking jokes. Everybody's like, why are they just, that's not funny. And we're like, no, it is. So the series of events leading up to me getting this tube. The tube is what I needed. The tire's fine. So I had taken Penny to work. We were leaving later than I wanted to. The place closed at 6. It's Eastern Shore Cycles over across the bay, across from Home Depot, so right by where I live, right outside the neighborhood. It just says bikes outside, but it's Eastern Shore Cycles. And Drew suggested I go see them because they know the people there really well.
Right.
And he was like, you can just tell them that you know Dale. So here are things I didn't know that I found out today, actually. They're not fans of the mountain biking podcast that they do. And so I'm rushing in there because I'm trying to get there before they close so I can fix my bike and I can ride on Thursday, because Thursday is the chill ride, and that's the one I want to do because they go slower. I'm not very fast right now. So I was like, I just got to get my bike fixed. So I rush in 5 minutes before they close, and I can't even remember everything that was said because it was so uncomfortable. But I was like, I got my first flat tire. And I'm like, I know that they're aware of us because he told me to tell them I know Dale.
Right.
So I know they know about the community I'm part of, but I've never met them. So we rush in. It's raining also. Rush in.
And you hate the rain. Hate getting
well,
wet.
it's sprinkling, so it's about to be raining. Yes, I do.
Famously not a fan of getting wet.
No. Yeah. So we rush in, and I was like, hey, I got my first flat tire. I'm pretty proud of it, to be honest. Like, it's a milestone for me. And so the guy was like, he said something along the lines of, take it off or something, like, I can help you take it off. And I was like, no, I don't. Like, I want to do it. Like, it's a thing of pride for me. Like, I got my first flat tire. I want to fix. I got my first punctured tube. I have to correct that because apparently that's a pain point for them. It's like, your tire's fine. So I need to I need to fix it. I want to do it. I'm very stubborn. I would like to do it and go through that whole milestone. But he said, I can help you take it off. And I was like, no, I can do it. I just don't know what I need. And he had already started walking, like he knew he was going to take it off, like towards my car. Right. And I was like, no, I know how to. I was like, I want to do it. I just don't know how, is what I said. So then he had a weird look, and then he walked outside, and I think he thought he was saying that he was going to take it off my car. And I was saying, I want to do it. I don't know how. But I thought he was talking about the actual
tire.
wheel. So he goes out there, and I was like, no, I'm sorry. I know how to take it off of my vehicle. I put it there. I can take it down. I'm going to change my tire myself. Like, it was just a weird, like,
sure,
yeah,
awkward.
Yeah, it was very awkward.
You both he misunderstood.
I need you to know 500 other sentences happened that I don't remember because at that point I'm just cracking jokes. So before we headed outside to where he looked at the tire, like, because it was awkward, and then I was like, you guys know Dale, right? And so they're like, yes. And I was like, so they do the podcast, and I'm the person on the podcast that they gave the bike to. Because apparently I'm very well known.
Right. We talked about this last time. Yeah.
Like, they know me, and it's really, like, people are like, oh, Jestina. And I was like, I don't know who you are. Like, I'm known in this community because of the podcast. So he still had this look on his face, and I was like, that did not help. I don't know why I thought celebrity status was going to do something here, but it did. It's like thinking you're super famous and then learning you're not.
You're not.
Do you know who I am?
Yeah, exactly. And it was like,
I'm
that
famous
didn't land. And so then we walked out to my car where he pushed on it. Was like, you need a new tube. And it was like, okay. So we went back in together, and he was like, I'll get your tube. So then I'm like still cracking jokes. Penny wants to look at the bike. So we're walking around the store. And I go back up, and I was like talking to him, and I was like, well, somehow it came out. I was like, I'm going to do this myself. I'm very determined, and I'm trying to, like, break ice. So it's like, if I have to bring him back, you guys just don't tell the boys, okay? Like, and so an older gentleman, don't know any of their names, started laughing because I'm saying lots of things.
Right.
Like, I'm word vomiting at this point.
Funny.
Yeah.
But it's that uncomfortable, like, everything I see becomes a point of discussion type of thing. Because Dale did not land here.
Right.
I
gotta find something. I gotta find a. I gotta course correct.
Right. So I'm just doing what I can, and he gave it to me. And I mean, by the time I left, like, the younger guy was kind of smiling too, and I was like, they 100% their interpretation of me is that I'm an idiot. Like, because that's how I felt when I left. Is like, they think I'm an idiot because I didn't know. Like, I don't know exactly what I need, but it's broken. Help me fix it. And they're like, yeah, he was like, I could still take it in the back and do it for you. I was like, no. If I have to come back, just don't judge me. So it was this whole moment. Well, today I went and rode with Carrie, which is one of the, she pushes a lot for, she leads the Thursday chill ride. And she teaches a lot of the kid groups when they're in school. So she's really good to work with in terms of beginners. Let me just say that. So she was like, you brought up the podcast? I was like, I was told to talk about Dale. They don't like the podcast. And it was like, well, okay. But Carrie used to work there and was up there like all day yesterday. She was like, you should have just said my name. I was like, I was advised incorrectly. In fairness, like I'm not going to just start listing mountain bikers at this point and be like, you don't know Dale? Oh, we got Drew, we got Carrie, and like just go through a whole list.
Right.
Like, anyway, so I changed my tire.
Yay!
It was a learning process, but then I changed it. Jennifer came home from work and was like, oh, you changed your tire? Does that mean you can change the tire on the other bike too? I was like, I guess. And I did that one faster because, you've learned.
Right.
But then she went and rode bikes with me.
Oh.
It was an adventure that I don't think she'll go on again for quite a while.
Oh, I was about to say, are we not changing your name from Derby Wife to like Biker Wife or Mountain Wife or what's it called? Mountain Bike Wife?
No, she, no, maybe not for a while. But I also, the golf course behind my house has a paved trail, and I've been riding that more because mountain biking makes me hate CrossFit. Because I get gassed so early, but I was doing CrossFit almost every single day.
Right.
So it's like, how can I work out every day and not be able to physically do this activity? And I get it. It's a different type of activity. It's more endurance, and you get more of like that high intensity in CrossFit and not like extended lengths of time.
Right.
I understand all that. It still makes you angry. Where it's like, I'm waking up at 4:20 every morning to work out, and I'm not strong enough to do this. Why am I doing that kind of thing? Anyway, so I'm determined to get better at it. So I started riding my trails in my neighborhood because they just genuinely, you get a down, but then you have to climb that bastard back out of there, and it's rough. So she went, and I was like, hey, we're coming up on a hill. Like, this is the path I take. So it's going to be great. We have to climb up out of it when we go back. So you want to go down? She's like, yeah, we can do that. So we did a couple of those, and then the third big one, she was like, I don't want to do that one. I was like, we hadn't climbed back yet. Like, but every time you go down, you do have that up.
Yeah.
But the bigger part was going back. So I was like, okay, we have to go back now. So it was like a 2-mile ride.
That's not bad.
She walked about a third of it.
Sure.
But she did really well.
Good.
We got home, and she was like, I don't know the next time I'll join you on a bike ride. And I was like, you'll do it. But so that's been my mountain biking journey. Today I went, Blakely is supposed to be really hard. So when Carrie suggested Blakely, I was like, oh, okay, let's go. Fell for the first time. Wasn't bad though. It was a small fall.
Do you get any marks?
I do. On my leg. I got little boo-boos right there.
Oh, look at your little
Right
boo-boo.
there and right there and right there. On my hurt ankle, so naturally it's doing well for me in my life. But it was a small fall, but it made me, like when you have that hesitation to something, and then once you have that first fall, you're like, oh, this is fine.
Right.
So then I was going faster going down. So I think that helped. But I enjoy it a lot. I recommend eating before you do it for 9 miles.
Yeah, you might get a little hungry.
Yeah. So, but that's been my mountain biking journey.
Cool.
So I love it.
I'm glad you enjoy it.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's a learning process. Are you doing anything new and adventurous?
I had my first infusion Friday for my.
Did it make you a superhero?
It did not.
Okay.
Let me tell the story. All right, so just to recap, for people who don't know, I have a bunch of different autoimmune stuff, including rheumatoid and psoriatic arthritis. I have 2 arthritises because,
go big or go home.
Go big or go home. So
Maybe it's a big hat and a belt buckle.
And so I have been on a weird journey with this for the last few years of trying different medications, and the last one I wasn't really responding to. That the way the doctor, I was responding to it, but not in the way that the doctor was like, we're making progress. And he's like,
right.
There's progress that we can make. You're just not making it. So let's try to try something different. And so I was doing pills, and then I went to injections, and then now I'm doing 2 infusions, which are just like long injections, longer injections. And so,
Do they run it through a pig first?
no, they do not run it through a pig.
Can we get to a point where you get pig's blood? That would be fun. It makes it pure, Scotty.
Yeah, it makes
it pure.
So, I'm scheduled for this for Friday the other day, and when they scheduled it. My first one, and then 2 weeks later my next one, and then a month later my next one. That's when, which was funny because when I was first told about it, it's this process where you'll it's 2 hours the first week, the second week you'll do it is an hour, third week is an hour, then there's a break, and then you do it every week. The way I interpreted that was, for the 3 weeks we're going to be doing it.
Right.
But no, it's 3 sessions, not 3 weeks. And also I was told it suppresses your immune system, because what's really happening with an autoimmune disorder is that my immune system is like running high,
Right.
and it's since it doesn't have things to attack like germs or viruses or bacteria or whatever, it's like, hey, this joint looks like we can mess with it, and so they just start messing with my joint.
They're bullies.
Yeah, they're right.
You're full of bullies.
I'm full of bullies. It's like,
You got nothing else to do. Pick on that guy.
hey, you elbow, we don't want you to work anymore, or hey, you ankle, you're not going to walk today. That's what it's like. What it's like. And then it's also like, you're also going to be exhausted 24/7, like you have.
Because they're working hard to destroy your body.
Right. So it's like it feels like I have the exhaustion that you get with the flu. I feel that every day. Like right now, I'm just like, that's just what it is, and you just power through it. That's what you got to do, and so that's what I do. I will hit a wall about 6, 7 o'clock where I just cannot do anything function. But so doing the play was real fun, especially when I had to be there, because I was like, I just can't wait to keep saying your lines faster because I really want to go to bed.
Yeah.
And so
it's like, it's intermission. I'm gonna take a nap.
So we got it all scheduled. Hurrah! This has been a journey. You know, I had to do a lot of tests and stuff to get to this point. So like it was like February when they were like, we're gonna do infusions, and now it's June where they started. That's how long of the process is.
That's crazy.
Right, with American medicine. And so, and you're familiar with American medicine.
Unfortunately, very familiar with
so,
it, yes.
Thursday they call me, and they're like, hey, is there any way we can reschedule Friday?
Are you serious?
And I'm like, and it's me. You know how I am. I'm like,
why, bitch?
No, you know how I am. I'm like, of course we can.
Yeah.
Sure. What? And they're like, we would like to do Monday. And I was like, okay. Well, Monday's the busiest day at work, but I could get out early and then go to it. And they're like, we want to do it at 8 a.m., which is the first part of which is not going to work. And I'm like, and then she goes, and I just bit the bullet. And I was like, okay, I guess I'll do it. And then she goes, okay, so that's going to change your other appointments. And all my appointments have been on Friday. And now they're all being moved to these Mondays.
Oh.
And I'm like, no, I'm not going to.
I can't do Monday every time.
I can't do Monday every so I was like, well, can I do it earlier? So if it's a Monday, can I do it? Okay, is it bad for the medication if I have it in 11 days or 12 days instead of 14? And she goes, oh, that's not a problem. It's your insurance who won't cover it.
Because it has to be on.
Yeah.
They want it the 14th day or later. And they're like, you could wait to like our next Friday appointment is July 20 whatever. And I was like, well, that's almost a month from now.
That's when you go, no, you can't move my appointment.
So but of course it's me. I'm like, yeah, this is not going to work. However, if it's dire, if it's a situation where like you may die if we do this, then I'll move it. But if you will go ask the nurse, because the nurses had requested it.
Yeah.
And I said, if you will go back and ask the nurses that if there's any way possible, if it's not dire, can we keep the appointment? And so she called me back and she said, no, we'll keep the appointments as if. Cool. So I go in.
Proud of you.
So I go in Friday, and there is no one in the waiting room. Now, I've been to the doctors a lot, and it's rare that I go to a waiting room. There's nobody, unless I know I'm the first person there. And I've been a lot of times I'm the first person there, but there's 2 people behind me, like as I'm going. So I'm like, I'm alone. And
goodness.
And so I'm like, well, this is odd. And so I talk to the receptionist, like, it's quiet in here. He said, yeah, there's no doctors this afternoon. So, yeah, it's usually quiet when there's no doctors. I'm like, oh, there's no doctors. What am I doing? What have I done? because if I'm going to have a problem, I'm going to have a problem right now, right?
It's going to be as soon as you guys start this, no doctor.
And then there's no doctor, and then I'm just going to die in the chair. And so now I'm not trying to have a panic attack. I'm trying. I can feel like the anxiety, and I don't normally get this way, but this kind of stuff, just medical stuff, always messes with me anyway. So I'm just like, oh, this is all going to be terrible. Oh, and then about. Because I came a little early, so about 20 minutes later, another lady came in, and they called us both back.
Okay.
Because I didn't know how this worked, because I've never had
an infusion
before.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of chairs, and I just go pick a chair, and they just go plop down by a chair. It's like, oh, okay, it's communal. All right, no problem. And so also thought we were all getting the same thing. We weren't. She was getting something completely different than I was, and because they apparently handle anything they do, any kind of infusion, they just plug you in there. And hers was like iron, so it didn't take her long. My first one for this stuff was 2 hours.
Yeah, it was a lengthy time.
Yes, it was so I'm sitting there, and so the nurse comes in who requested it to be moved. She said, "Look, I just want to tell you that why we asked for it to be moved is that just in case there's a problem, there are no doctors here in the office to look at it. And so I just wanted you to understand." Then I said, "Well,
why wouldn't they tell you that on the phone?"
Oh, well, she did. When I told you, she told me there were no doctors, and so
no. But I mean, did she tell you like this is why we're looking?
No, she didn't say. She didn't say that. So she starts telling me like, in case there's a problem, there's no doctors here. And I'm like, well, we're near a hospital. If there's something, I mean, like it's right by Spring Hill. So like if there's a problem,
it's fine.
I can get to a doctor, or a doctor can get to me. I mean, unless I'm having a heart attack and I'm going to flop dead. And if that's the case, it was meant to be anyway. And it's not
good to know you all.
Right.
All of the children that have reached out, I'm sorry.
Right. And so.
Too late.
And so she's like, and I said, well, it's not going to be, I said, I explained on the phone if it's something dire. She goes, well, that depends on you. And I'm like, well, I don't plan to be dire.
Like, I'm going out of my way to be dire right
I'm
now.
just going to sit in this chair and let you plug me into this thing, and I'm just going to chill and wait. And she's like, well, it just depends on you how it works. And I'm like, okay. And then she asked me about this other medication that I had been on, which I won't name, but for the same symptoms. And she goes, oh, I'm glad. Or she goes, are you still on it? I said, no, that was 2 medications. She goes, oh, I'm glad you're not on that anymore because the tumors. What? The tumors? No one mentioned anything until this moment about tumors in this medication.
What?
Right. She goes, I'm glad you're not on anymore because of the tumors. And then she didn't elaborate.
Oh, my God.
What are they doing to you?
I know. Right? And so I'm just sitting in there about to get plugged up, and then one of my nurse, the I don't know if she's a nurse, or I guess she's a nurse, and she's talking about, so what do you do? And I was like, oh, he says, she goes, we have iPads if you want to watch iPads. And I brought my tablet, found out that my tablet, because I planned to read comics the whole time while I was in.
Right.
Apparently my Wi-Fi doesn't work, but they have iPads with Wi-Fi that will work.
Oh, they've got that special Wi-Fi.
Right. And I'm like,
doctors.
I don't,
Yeah.
and you go, we got headphones and stuff too. And I was like, nah, I brought my phone and I downloaded a podcast just in case I didn't have signal so I could listen to a podcast. And so I was going to listen to the podcast. So I had a backup plan.
Yeah.
And she goes, oh, I listen to podcasts too. And I said, oh, well, we make podcasts. And so I explained to the show, and she's like, oh, that's great. And she goes, but I mostly listen to political podcasts. And she started naming all these right-wing podcasts she listened to. And I was just like,
oh, you won't like our podcast.
I'm like,
don't listen to our podcast. You may not like it.
I mean, listen to it. Sure, try it out. Maybe you will like it.
We're not political, so it's not that big. I think she's more, but I was like, oh yeah, I am in Alabama. It was one of those moments where I'm like,
I forgot where I was for a second. My apologies, madam.
Because Mobile is more city-like.
Well, also, I mean, look, yes, I do have Republican friends.
Yeah.
And I have Democrat friends,
Right.
and my leanings are center left.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a full leftist. I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm center. I'm like, there are things I believe that are just kind of centrist, and a lot of my friends do too. So I don't think about it, and then then suddenly I'm reminded. Oh yeah, red state. I'm in the middle of a red state. I forgot. I just forget.
I forgot where I live.
I forget sometimes.
I'm like, oh, those are cool podcasts. We don't listen to those.
So
Yeah.
So they plug me in, and by plugging, they stick a needle in me. And she's really good with the needle, though.
Oh, very
Well,
nice.
that's good.
Right. Well, and I told a story. I don't know if I've told this on the podcast or not because I don't think we were doing the show. So many years ago, I got what I thought was a case of the sniffles, and it turned into pneumonia.
I remember that.
And then it turned into another. The start of my autoimmune disorder
Right.
journey would turn into sarcoidosis. But while we were in the pneumonia, we're trying to figure out stage. I was seeing, and I wasn't seeing a general practitioner. Seriously, guys. Side note: if you can afford a general practitioner, get one because they're helpful. And I was seeing. I could afford one, but I was still seeing urgent care.
Yeah, you would just go to
Urgent care
if
because
you needed something.
I needed something. And urgent care is great for those purposes, but I was using it as like a general practitioner, primary doctor.
A lot of people do.
Not a good idea. If you can afford, if you have insurance and if you can afford, get a go. It's also hard to find if you can find one who will take you because
A lot of them don't take new patients.
but,
anymore.
right. I called all over. The one I've got, I will shout this out. Dr. Garth, Stephanie, and Jamie turned me on to. He was their doctor and love this guy. This guy's great. He's out of Saraland. He takes my insurance. He's very nice. He doesn't fat shame me, which most doctors do. And they're like, you're not
You'd
sick.
feel better if
Right.
you lost some
You could
weight.
lose
Right,
it, yeah, if you-
right.
yeah.
And look, don't get me wrong. Dr. Garth has helped me lose weight. I've lost about 40 pounds since I've been. I'm down to like 320. I'm real
Yeah,
proud of
you're
myself.
doing great.
And I had just saw him this week, and he's very proud of my progress. So we're all good. But he's like, now I'm weight loss we got. Now he wants me to like do like my body's a temple thing, and so it's like I'll put it this way: he's very granola vegetarian guy,
Okay.
which I'm not, and I'm learning to try to do better at.
Yeah.
You're like,
I
I
am-
like potatoes and meat.
But look, I have been over the last couple of years. I mean, I have been receptive to adding greener things to my
You
diet.
have.
Yeah, 'cause you
and
can-
I'm very proud of
Right,
you.
and I am too. And look,
It's growth.
Because
man.
you can have everything. You can
right,
have
like
it's
5 years ago, I didn't eat salads. Now I'm eating
Not
salads.
at all. Like nothing.
Nothing.
Nothing. If
Now
it's
I'm eating
green.
You know, like I still don't put green stuff on my sandwiches. I can't do it.
Yet.
No, it just tastes weird. It's a texture thing. It doesn't make sense.
Okay.
Like I like salads and like a hamburger side by side. I'll do it, but I won't. And tomatoes. I'm not a tomato fan. I've learned
remember that.
they're gross.
That's fair.
Like the tomato. I like tomato paste things. I like when you turn it into something, but like
The tomato.
the actual juicy weird. Oh, it's gross.
Are you a fruit or are you a vegetable? Figure it out.
Right. All right. So where was it? So back to this infusion thing. Yeah. So she sticks me really good, and so I told her the story about after when I got first sick. They had this nurse technician. She wasn't a nurse. We're medical technicians that help at doctors' offices. So they're like not a nurse, but they just help out.
Right.
And so she was taking my. She was trying to get a blood sample. So and that poor child stuck me 9 times in different places, and the more she stuck me and couldn't find my vein, the more flustered she got. So she got more upset.
Which made it worse.
And look, I have been stuck a lot, so it's like it doesn't. I mean, I feel it, but I'm not like it doesn't hurt.
No, I got you.
Yeah, like I'm like, oh, okay. I'm not freaking out. But she had, and she would stick me, and it would bleed, but she couldn't find the vein. So she would put a piece of gauze there, and then she would wrap it up with that tape, and then she would stick. So she had a couple places in my arm, a couple places in my hand, both hands, both arms. I looked like an art project.
She used different color tape every time?
Yes.
Good.
And
As you should.
she had, well, it was only 2. It was blue and this great beige stuff.
That's probably pink then.
Probably. And then she goes, I just can't do that. I'm like helpless. Like I just can't do this. And I'm like, it's gonna be okay.
If you need to ask for help, it'll be okay.
Right. Well, and so she goes and gets the nurse, and the nurse is like, first she goes, like I saw her like when she saw me, and then she composed herself and she was like, "Oh, we got that," and like first try she got it, and so,
That was a moment of, the fuck did you do?
that's what it was. But I'm not saying anything. I don't want to get. I don't. She was probably not. She's probably like 22, and I didn't.
Possibly newer.
And so look, it happens, and nothing bad at it. So I told the story. She goes, "Oh, if I don't get you twice, there's something wrong with me," and she got it the first try.
So, just a side tangent of that, Mickey just had her wisdom teeth pulled.
Oh, how's she doing?
she's good. She's good now. She had all 4 done.
Oh, good.
I mentally struggled because did I talk about this briefly in my inebriation?
No, we talked about it a little bit prior to when you shot the commercial.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So she,
Side note, that Drew and Jestina came to the office and shot a commercial for me for the comic that's coming out soon.
We did. So she got all 4 of them taken out, but like when this process started, it was just very surreal for me. Like I had to process it because I found out I was pregnant with her 2 days after my wisdom teeth were taken out. So granted, I know I had her very young. I was still older than she is.
Right.
So it was just this really weird sort of moment where your kids are getting bigger. You watch them get bigger, but every now and again there's a milestone or something, or you take a picture. Right. Like Penny's been in a picture recently where I'm like, holy crap, that's a full child. Like that's a grown kid. Mm-hmm. So it was just very, it was a lot to take in. So she got her wisdom teeth taken out, and they did.
Did you ask? You don't have any boyfriends right now, right?
No, they did ask if she was pregnant.
Well, of course they did,
because they did, and
but,
I was like,
you found out. Well, you found out 2 days later, so I was like,
I didn't know.
Right, but I'm just like, you better not have any boyfriends right now.
Yeah, I was like, shut it down. Then when they did her IV, because what I found to be really interesting, and I had a very traumatic experience with mine. None of my numbing stuff worked, but they didn't put me to sleep. They shot me up, and I remember sitting there, and there was something on TV, and it was like one of the the TV channels during the day. I don't remember what it was. And I was watching it, and they came in to check, and I wasn't numbed, and so they shot me some more, and then they left, and they came in to check, and I wasn't numbed. They did it a couple times. Right. And then finally the dentist comes in, and he's like, I know, it's fine. It'll kick in. Literally started. 2 of them had to be cut out, and 2 of them had to be pulled because they had broke through the skin. Right. And I remember being like in a scrunched up ball, crying out in pain as they're holding me down, still giving me numbing as they're going. But I never had like laughing gas. Right. I never had a mask. It was just the stuff in my gums. And then they were pulling on my stuff. It was terrible. So I had a very traumatic experience. So when I found out, I actually got sick, which was this moment. It was 2 days afterwards where I was like, I don't get sick. Like, I don't throw up. It's not something I do. And so that was a weird, like, is this a lasting after effect because it was such a traumatic experience, right? Or is something else going on? Ironically enough, while I was pregnant with Mickey, the numbing didn't work on me when I went to have my C-section either. They had to put me to sleep. So I had this, we went in, and of course it's like, do you have any allergies or whatever with anesthesia? Main point, I'm getting off track. They didn't even offer to keep her awake. Like, the conversation was just straight to anesthesia, and she was getting put to sleep for it, which I thought was interesting because I don't remember that conversation for me. So I don't know if that's just a different practice now, or if because 3 of hers had to be cut out and 1 of them was kind of through the surface, if it's like, we're going to put you to sleep. I don't know. It was just interesting.
Kayla, you still got yours?
I believe I had some of them removed, but not all of them.
Got you.
Yeah, because sometimes you do that slow getting some of them gone.
Yeah,
but
you don't necessarily have to.
Yeah.
I got mine cut out when I was 10.
Oh, my gosh. Don't tell Penny that. Penny was with me when we took her, and she is like full on, do I have wisdom teeth terrified? But she's got a weird tooth thing.
Of course she does.
I have videos.
She is Josh's daughter.
That kid.
Can she swallow pills?
I don't know, but probably. I think all the kids are going to be able to do that, and Josh cannot.
Poor Josh.
So when she got her anesthesia, though, like, and of course she's getting a little bit more terrified as we go along because she's never experienced anything like this. And we go into a room where we had the consultation. It was fine. But then it was like things happen where it's like they did the anesthesia. And
it becomes more and more real.
They did the heart monitors. They put oxygen on her. And of course it's like those things that you don't normally get. And it's like, oh, crap. But as soon as they put the heart monitors, I was having a good time because I could hear her heart racing. I'm like, you're okay. It's okay. Now everybody can. It's like echoing in this room. I'm like, it's okay. It's just weird, but you're okay. So the doctor comes in to do her IV, and like he couldn't get it at first. So he was in her arm. It felt like to me a solid 3 minutes. Was it? Probably not, but it was at least a minute. Where he had it in there, and it was the smallest baby needle. Right. And he was just not taking it out, but trying to move it.
Just trying to find it.
Yeah, but this kid, had never been through something like this,
was
I'm
freaking
holding
out.
her hand, and this is the moment where, like, everything else has happened. You can hear that she was nervous. She leans over, and then he's, like, moving it around a lot, and then she starts crying.
Aww.
And I'm, like, holding her. I was like, I know, baby. I've had it happen to me before. Because it's just uncomfortable.
Right.
He pulled it out. It was bent. It hit a valve and bent the end of the needle. So this tiny little needle was bent, and that's why he couldn't get it. So he just sat for a while. He held her arm and like held the pressure on it, and he was just talking to her, and he was like, "It's okay." And he was like the whole time just feeling for like where it was gonna be perfect. And he was like, "I hate to have to do this twice, but the reason that's important is because the second time it went right in, like immediately. He got it right away. So I don't think it's a lack of skill. I think he just hit a spot where she had it. Right. So when
I bet he's done it a lot.
When she's druggy afterwards, right?
Yeah.
She called her dad, who was not awake because it's first thing in the morning. He works nights. And I was like, he's not awake. And she's like, that's okay. So we call. Everything she says sounds like a baby.
Right.
She just can't make her mouth not sound like a baby. Okay. And so she calls and leaves him a voicemail. And in the voicemail goes into detail about like he had to do the IV twice, but it's okay. He felt bad about it. It's okay. He was very nice.
But like a baby.
But like, yes. And I thought it was the gauze doing that. But when she took the gauze out, she still talked that way. But she could hear it every like fifth sentence.
Yeah.
She heard one word that she was like, oh, and she would correct it and then go back to baby talk. But then like 5 sentences later, she would hear it again and be like, oh, and correct it. Anyway, so it went fine. But she had that sort of experience. I hate that it was like one of the first times it's happened to her.
Right.
But
I had mine when I was 10 because mine were growing backwards.
So they were going into your cavities?
They were going toward my...
well, they'll go toward your sinuses.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So instead of doing that, they were going toward the back of my head.
Like that backwards?
Yeah, that backwards.
That's weird.
Yeah, they were like, that's how it was. Like they would have grown like into my... And the dentist was like, "Oh, we can not do anything, or we can just cut these bad boys out."
Like, we're just going to take care of it now.
Yeah.
Have you guys ever seen your wisdom teeth?
Yes.
I asked to keep hers.
Weird.
Because I was trying to break the ice, because I make jokes when I'm uncomfortable. So we're sitting in this room, and I was like, it's okay.
Did they let you keep them?
All 4 of them. Yes. But I was like, hey, can we keep those? I want to make some jewelry to wear to all of her school events. Dangle them in my ear. Like, I was just joking. They legit gave them to us, and I am kind of happy they did.
Oh, you got to take pictures. I got to put this in the episode.
Mickey's like, I mean, she's like, like when you're intoxicated, you can't function.
Right.
Druggy. So she's like trying to keep herself up and like shaking, and opens it and is like, which one do you think is the one that was poking through? And she's looking at all of them. They're freaking huge.
Yeah,
they're
huge.
so big.
Yeah.
So I'm just looking at it like, how'd they get 4 of them in that small container?
Right.
They're so big. I have no regrets. She won't let me keep them. She's keeping them.
Well,
I was like, you didn't even want it. I asked for it.
They are hers.
I don't care.
Technically, you made them.
Right? No, it comes back to me. It will come back to me. But so we kept ours because that's the family that we are.
Yeah, you
You're
definitely need to send. I need to put pictures of the episode in the episode.
Be like, Mickey, don't. She's not at home. I'll just do it anyway. She won't know. She doesn't listen to this. It's fine. She's at her dad's. It's a little sparkly tooth container.
Yeah, so mine were growing in backwards, and I don't remember much of the experience because it was 35 years ago.
Yeah, and you
but
were
I
younger
remember,
too.
it was Dr. Black who did it. I know the building he did it in here in Mobile, and it was a 2-story building that had like a staircase that went like.
Oh, fun.
Outside in the front, kind of like an antebellum house, kind of curved. But there was an elevator on the inside, and that's what we took to get to the second floor where he was at. And I remember in the waiting room just a little bit and then getting called in the back. And I remember it was like a real quick there was no consultation or anything, if I don't recall. It was just a...
Usually you don't have to do it if you have like up-to-date
right. So, yeah, like my dentist was like, and then they just scheduled me to do it.
Mickey didn't have up-to-date
And so I went to the back, and they did the laughing gas, and the lady was like, oh, this is laughing gas, and it's going to make you giggle. I'm like, that's going to make me giggle. And I was giggling like a mountain.
Like, no, God, try me.
And then she was like, all right, I'm going to stick this needle in your hand, and I want you to count back from 10, but you won't make it to 5. And I said, yes, ma'am, I'm going to make it to all the way. And I think I got to like 7. It was like 10, 9, out.
So Mickey's like, her biggest thing when she was all druggy is that she could not, like, she asked the lady if she took her memory when she woke up, because she said her memory of what happened is I was holding her hand, she got her IV in, I was loving on her, and they're like, okay, Mom, it's time for you to go. So I gave her kisses, and then I left, because once she's asleep, there's no reason for me to be there anyway. And she said, and then they put a wedge in her mouth, and all of them were looking at her, and then she was waking up. So I think it's interesting because she doesn't mention anything about a countdown. And I wonder if that's more jarring to not be aware that you're counting yourself down.
Right.
Because she's like, I fell asleep, but I never closed my eyes.
When
Like,
I had the
that
surgery-
stuck with her.
When I had the surgery for the lung biopsy, they did the countdown too, and I remember I got to like 6. I'm like almost to 5, and then
I've
I was
always
out.
done a countdown.
And
for
always,
all of
always
mine.
fine. However, I do remember waking up and being let out to the elevator, and by let out, I was let out because I'm 10 years old and highly intoxicated. I am.
Mickey was in a wheelchair.
You know, see, I walked. They didn't.
No, they were like, she tried to, and they're like, we're gonna wheel you out.
And so
Yeah.
I
They sat her
walked,
down.
but I kept wanting to go down the stairs because the stairs looked cool. Because it was and Dad was like, I remember Dad finally having to grab me by the neck, and
like the animal that you are.
and then just kind of not harder, not abusive, but grabs me by the neck, and so he can steer me toward the elevator.
They're like, no, son.
Right.
No, no, no,
'Cause-
no.
Right. Because
No.
I will go to the stairs
You're
and
right.
kill myself.
It's a huge slide, Dad. I'm doing it.
So I remember that, and then I remember, and this is also the 80s. So I was 10, and this was 87, and so in 1987, kids, you just could just crawl in the back of your seat and lay down because seatbelts, whatever.
And it was perfectly fine.
And I just slept. I slept lots of times in the car in the back seat. Lots of times without
Just laying down.
car seats or
It's crazy.
seatbelts or anything like
Lay
that.
in the bed of the truck, you know.
Right, done
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Done that a few times too. Actually, so high school is 1995, and I like video games,
Right.
and liked them a lot more when I was a kid, and I loved arcades. And living in the small town that I live, there is no arcades. But and funny fact, I have now an arcade in the office, which is in the studio here, which is fun. I always
Yeah.
play because it's my connection to it. I love having it. But there was a game called Killer Instinct, and it was like a Mortal Kombat style, but it's more cartoonish.
Okay.
And it was the biggest rage of 1995. It's like, oh, if you play Killer Instinct, it's at the and like the only place locally for us to have it was the track in Gulf Shores.
Oh, I worked there.
Right, and
That's
so
where I met my first husband.
so I didn't know you worked at the track.
Yeah.
I don't think I've been to the track since like the 90s. It's still there,
Through
but
high school.
and I may have no. So when you were in high school, when you were,
So I probably started there halfway through 2005
yeah,
into 2006.
yeah, we were already living in Mobile by then. But it was me, my buddy Harley Jordan, my buddy Gabe Davis. We would leave school. Carly and only one of us had a truck that could leave town because the rest of us, I didn't have a car at the time, and Gabe's parents wouldn't let him drive outside of town.
So that was his rules. Like
But
within town.
you had to go
Gotcha.
and get him. He had a nice truck, but he only could go. And then so he but he had it's one of the, I can't remember the damn truck. It was one of the. I'm gonna have to reach out to Harley see if he can remember what his truck was, but it was like it was a 2-seater. It's like
Like a Ford or a Chevy.
no, it was like a Japanese model or a South Korean model, one of those Asian models. And so, and I can't remember what it was, but so Gabe and him would ride in the front, and I'm like, I'll ride in the back. And so, and the back had a cover, so it had a cover. So I just crawled in back and like slept back there a lot. And then so
And they
we
would drive you into the track.
and we would drive from Bay Minette to Gulf Shores, and I'm in the back of this thing.
That's fine.
Yeah, like who cares if someone could hit me?
It's normal.
Right, it's fine. It's fine. So that I did that a lot. I did that. So anyway, back to the infusion. So she scares me about tumors, and then she goes through the list of like, well, are you allergic to anything? I'm not. You know, medical. I'm not. As far as I know, I'm not anything.
Right.
She says, oh, good. That's all that. And so she pokes me, and she goes, we're gonna start this slow. I'm like, yeah, you said it was gonna take 2 hours, so I guess that's slow. She goes, it could be slower. I'm like, no, we don't need to be slow.
No, lady. 2
And then
hours is fine.
it went fine. She just checked my vitals every like 20 minutes to make sure I wasn't dying, and I was fine. And then I unplugged after it was over and went to the house and crashed because I was exhausted. That stuff puts me on behind. I mean, just like
So did you have, outside of being exhausted, did you have any other like
not that I know. I hadn't.
side effects?
I haven't felt anything. I don't feel different either. So it's like, but it's the first dose, so
Right.
I figure it's gonna take a few before I start feeling like
What is it supposed to do?
It's supposed to, my joints and everything is supposed to kill the exhaustion and stop the pain in my joints and stop the swelling and clear up the psoriasis in my skin areas. And it's supposed to like do all of that stuff.
It's supposed to be magical.
Yeah, it's supposed to be magical.
But without a pig.
Yeah, without a pig.
I just don't know how they're going to do without a pig, Scotty.
I don't either. That's all. I did that. We had a con last weekend here at G&G.
Yep.
And I did pretty good. I met a bunch of people, sold a bunch of stuff, and made some people happy. These kids came and traded me some 18 lightsabers.
Yeah, I still haven't looked yet.
So I have a bucket full of lightsabers.
For what? What did they trade for?
They store credit, so they bought some. One kid, I think, got him a Spider-Man toy and some stuff out of it, and the other kid got part of a Transformer. His credit went to a Transformer. He really wanted to pay cash for the rest.
Yeah. Oh, cool.
So yeah, I have a bucket full of lightsabers. I've sold a few too. So
good.
So that's just weird. Oh, speaking of toys, I was on TikTok because that's my new addiction. I used to play Marvel Snap. I used to love Marvel Snap.
I don't know what that is.
Marvel Snap was a Marvel Comics kind of card game. I've been playing it since November until last month until it pissed me off.
Okay,
and
I
got mad at it to the point where I was like, well, I mean, I've spent money on this game. Like, there's a season pass where you get special cards, and I was doing that from November until May. I was doing that, and then I got mad at the game and just look, it's a thing. The meta changed. It just wasn't fun for me to play, and I was like, "F this! I'm an adult. I don't have to do this.
I can just choose to stop this subscription."
But
thank you.
But like all addictions, you don't stop. You don't quit an addiction. You just replace it.
What'd you replace it with?
TikTok. I've been watching the hell out of TikTok the last few weeks.
Like, if that screen time is gone, how am I going to fix it? This screen time.
I have to show you this. I got to pull this up. But I'm on TikTok the other day. And, I have a toy store. I've just mentioned that. And so I get a lot of toy TikTok stuff.
Makes sense.
Because
as you would.
And not because I'm searching it, because the algorithm knows I have a toy. It's like, oh, he has a toy store. He will like toy stuff. And I found out that in 1977, they come out with a Barbie-style doll called Bob.
Carry on.
And so Bob was the first homosexual doll.
Oh, Bob.
And I don't know if it's 77, so I haven't really found out if it was like a gag gift kind of thing. Or
if it was for real.
For real. 'Cause I don't think it was meant for children. But I have to get a Bob. I'm getting a Bob for my collection because I collect weird toys.
Yeah.
And I definitely need a Bob. Bob needs to be in my collection. So I found one of Bob on eBay. He's at a price right now I don't want to spend.
Okay.
But
Is the only Bob you found?
The only one I found. But I will find others.
Okay.
Let me be specific. I'm trying to find a complete Bob. And the reason why I want to find a complete Bob, and here's Bob.
Let me see Bob.
There's Bob.
It looks like a Ken doll.
He does look like a Ken doll.
In more feminine clothing, with a collection of either scarves or ties.
And he's got a little man purse.
Oh no, it's a collection. It's a collection of ties.
Yeah, but do you know why it's a collection of ties?
Because I can't even fully commit to the homosexual.
No,
aspect?
because he's literally boxed in a closet.
Oh no!
He is in a closet.
He's in a closet.
Which
is both horrible and fantastic all at the same time.
It's Ken doll, but this is the Ken doll in the closet. Oh, bless it.
So there's a Bob doll out there, and
I like his pearls.
Why
do you? So is he not complete because he's open?
No, he's open. I want a complete one with the closet packet, because the closet is actually the packaging he came in. So I want the whole thing, because Bob is great, right? I'm happy to have Bob.
We need the closet,
but I want Bob in the packaging so I can have Bob in his closet.
We need to see what his closet is
look.
like.
First of all, even if it's a gag gift, this is very progressive for 1977, and
yes.
I applaud this thing, and we need more geek dolls out there. So
that's delightful.
It is delightful. So
he looks fun.
I want a Bob, so we're gonna find a Bob one day.
Okay, we should.
So I got one on eBay. She wants like $250 for him, and I'm not.
She doesn't even have the full closet.
No, she wasn't. I mean, I think it's complete. I think it's got everything.
The one that you just don't want to pay the price for.
Right, yeah. It's just like $250 is a lot.
for a gay doll.
Right, and I just bought $1,100 worth of toys, and I'm like, I rarely buy toys for myself.
Right.
Right, I mostly buy for me. I collect Indian toys, Native American toys.
Right.
And because they're
Makes sense.
not a lot of them, and I think they're kind of cool. And I used to have a couple when I was little, and I try to get some pieces that I had from childhood that I want to replace.
Right.
But I'm not. I used to be a huge collector, but because I enjoyed hunting and finding toys and stuff.
It's very apparent by this office.
Right, but I learned way too late in my life that I enjoyed hunting for toys, not actually acquiring them.
Just like finding them.
Well, as I found them and then I haven't, then I'm like, now what? Kind of situation, right?
Now you just have it.
But now, right now, I just have it, and then the feeling goes away that you feel like I've found this. Okay, now I'm gonna find the next thing because I'm chasing that feeling, not the feeling of actually getting the thing.
No, that makes sense.
And so one of the reasons why I own a toy store, again, addiction. You just don't stop an addiction. You change what it is.
Yeah.
I get to find things,
And then other people can take it.
and then other people can get it. So I get to enjoy finding it, having that hit of endorphin, making me happy.
The
Right.
dopamine.
The little dopamine makes me happy. And then I also get another kick of being happy, making someone else happy when they find it or when they get something.
Aw,
So
yeah, when we have the adoptions.
With the adoptions. So
it's the chase and the
right,
swapping.
Right. And so that's why I own a toy store. Seriously, that's the reason why I own a toy store.
That makes sense.
So but I collect a few things. And the office stuff, office stuff it's decorative, really. I mean, you got to put something in here, so I put that.
So if you would like to fund Scotty's adventure of Bob, please reach out.
Yeah, reach
we
out.
are needing $250 to make this magic
Help me
come
get a
to
Bob.
life. We
Help
need
me
a
get
Bob.
Yeah. He will
Help Scotty get the closet
Bob will have a good time with the rest of my toys up here.
with
So.
all of his fancy ties.
I'm okay.
Apparently, it was a serious endeavor. I'm looking into
Oh,
the story.
so the producer is looking at Bob. Cool.
Yeah,
I meant to do a TikTok.
they
on
also
Bob.
beat Loki into the self-love thing because there's two Bobs in one of the advertisements just hugging each other.
Oh.
So they beat Loki to
man.
it.
Bob just wants to be happy
Why has he got to hug himself, though?
because
Well,
It'd be too weird if he was hugging another homosexual.
they only made the one
yeah,
doll.
they only
so,
made the one doll.
So you can be Bob and the other one can be Robert, and they can both be in love.
Stop it.
They just happen to look very much
You
like
had
each
Barbies,
other.
right? They're like.
There's a
There's
billion of the
different-
same Barbies.
But they're all-
there's different
They're all
Barbies.
Barbie though.
But she's doing different things.
Right. So were they different people?
So
I had some that were different.
it's the
yeah.
multiverse of Barbie.
no.
That's fair. That's fair. No, I know what you guys are saying.
Okay.
I had a collection of different Barbie dolls, so they didn't all look the same.
No,
Yeah.
but my question really is so let's say I had veterinarian Barbie and President Barbie.
They'd be the same Barbie.
So could
Before,
right.
but now I think they've got
But I'm just saying when you were a kid.
options. Oh yeah, no, they'd
I'm
be the
just-
same Barbie.
So when you played, could you play with both of them, and could they exist in the same timeline?
Because they were different people in my brain.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
Are
yeah,
they-
But I'm just saying, in their advertising,
Right.
they even have him hugging himself.
Right.
But it's
because-
almost like
So that means they're approving of that thought of they can exist in the same.
let's create he's lonely. Let's create him another.
Couldn't be hugging Ken because Ken had to be with Barbie.
Right. Ken couldn't hug him because he would immediately become a homosexual.
Yeah,
that's
because
how that works.
That's how that works.
I always thought, and Steph will back this up because I know Steph said this before, but I always thought Ken was a little gay anyway. And I think me and Steph,
clearly it's obvious if you look at Bob.
yeah.
and then I think me and Steph said this on one of the shows before, and then she goes, "Of course he is. That's why I had G.I. Joe with my Barbies." So G.I. Joe just came over to pleasure of Barbie during the
They
night.
just got put to the side. They were having their own time. I didn't have to elaborate. They
right,
just went over
right.
there and they
No,
did it.
as we say in the movies, fade to black.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean,
They're just going
yeah.
outside for right now.
Yeah,
it's
it
fine.
it did lead to other dolls being created along the same idea of there being gay dolls from
Well
other
done, Bob.
companies. Not
So
yeah, there's options.
growing
for Bob.
up, the dolls, we didn't have gay dolls. I mean, they probably were around, but there wasn't the controversy. The controversy for growing up was the pregnant doll.
Oh yeah.
How dare you?
Right, there was how dare you have a dog that could give birth?
Yeah. How dare you let kids understand that could happen?
Ever.
But the dog gave birth cesarean style.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. It was a pregnant Barbie that also gave birth.
Well, I mean, you could there was a baby inside, and
Yeah.
How fun is that? I want to get that for my kids.
See, my favorite toy growing up was the Jurassic Park version of that, where you can feed a guy to the dinosaur and then it comes out of his stomach.
Oh, I guess we're looking at pregnant Barbies.
Pop up like now for the audience if we can find one to pop up.
This is the one I remember though. This is the one
This
where
is so weird.
the baby is, you take the stomach off and the baby's upside down. You just pull it out. And so the baby's like, because the Barbie doll baby's as big as her whole torso. So
And then you just put the stomach back on, and then you live with Barbie after baby.
no, she has a flat stomach too. So you can have pregnant Barbie and not so pregnant Barbie.
Wow. That's
You're learning all things about toys today, aren't you?
I don't know if I want to get that one for my kids.
I in growing up in the 80s, toys were pretty much segregated. They're segregated now actually by gender. You go to a Walmart, there's a girls aisle and a boys aisle.
There's the younger kids, girls,
Yep.
boys,
Right.
outdoor.
Right. It's basically where it comes down to.
And then like the Legos and stuff, because Legos gets its own aisle.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
it's,
boys are on one side and girls are on the other.
Yeah.
right, and it's and the Legos, which are open to all genders, seems to be like the bridge from girls to boys toys. You
Yeah.
know, it's like dolls, Legos, action figures,
Yeah.
outdoor stuff. That's usually what.
That's the segue.
Yeah.
That's the segue. Growing up, my mother, I had no real desire for quote unquote girls' toys until Jim and the Holograms came out, and I was absolutely in love with Jim and the Holograms. And if you don't know what Jim and the Holograms is, it is a 1980s cartoon about a young woman who is I want to say a business lady / like
She's in a band.
no, but like
But
owner
yeah.
of an orphanage or
Yeah.
oversees that by day, and by night, thanks to her late father's hologram technology,
gosh.
leads a rock band
It's-
called Jim and the Holograms.
It's Hannah Montana mixed with like 90210.
Mixed with Barbie. It really is what it is. And man,
That sounds like something you'd be into.
dude, it was it was rock and roll, and it was a hot rock and roll chick. The animation opening,
Yeah.
dude, I gotta play the opening.
And then you got the romance plot line.
Yeah, there's a
too.
romance. Like, this shit came on right before G.I. Joe, and so I was waiting for G.I. Joe and then got hooked on Jim and the Holograms, and, like, hooked.
And then there was a bad movie recently.
Yeah, and I was mad, because let me write the Jim and the Holograms movie. I will... Stuff you missed out before you were born.
I
Chuck.
know, clearly.
Shit, like, this would have been your jam when you were little. She's excitement and adventure, glamour and glitter. She's truly outrageous. So, so these are the bad guys, because of course you got to have bad guys. So it was like a alternate punk band that hated her. And then that's Synergy, the hologram machine that makes her turn into Jim. All right, so that's Jim. I wanted the doll so bad. I never got any. My mother bought one for my cousin, and I was pissed. For Christmas.
I have
Questions?
oh my gosh, what is it called? That roller skating movie that we watched. Xanadu? Xanadu.
Xanadu, yeah.
Yeah.
It's very...
It reminded me a lot of Xanadu.
So the gimmick for the Jim dolls was that their earrings lit up. That's an older one. That's the newer one. Yeah, that's right. She's president of Starlight Music. Yeah, her earrings light up.
The music is totally awesome. That hair makes me sad.
It's 1985. It's peak.
It's like the worst sort of mullet for a woman.
Right. It's terrible.
Oh my!
I was in
gosh.
love with it. So 85, I'm like 8, and like, oh, this is the perfect woman. This is what women should be.
Oh man! And this started the slippery slope called Scotty's love life.
That what? That's true. That's
All
true.
started with Jem. If only he'd gotten that doll when he asked for it,
Didn't get it.
things would be different
So
for us today.
I am looking for Gem dolls. I'm gonna have the set.
Okay, that's fun.
I know, right? So we're gonna segue into what we're watching next week,
I feel
Which
like
is totally different.
which is
Is it though? Because we did talk about taking off some skin and putting it back again.
we did.
Yeah.
Okay,
Last week we covered Michael Mann's Manhunter.
we did.
Now we're actually
Yes.
going to see the sequel, Jonathan Demme's Silence of the Lambs.
We are, and I would like to say that I have watched multiple scenes from this movie because
haven't
they
watched-
are important.
They are. It is an important film.
There's a lot of stuff that I was watching that I was like, I enjoyed watching it from a like deeper, introspective sort of
Right.
aspect. I enjoyed the movie all around, but I actually got to watch the whole thing.
Well, good.
It was,
Good.
I enjoyed it, and then immediately wanted to watch the next one.
So,
well done.
Just as a preview for next week's episode, because I'm really curious. Now that you've seen Manhunter and Silence of the Lambs,
Mm-hmm.
does it change your opinion at all of Manhunter, good or bad?
Oh, I still don't like Manhunter.
Sure.
I can appreciate what they were trying to accomplish with Manhunter, but it didn't hook me the way that this movie
Because
did.
I think the big flaw in Manhunter, and one of the reasons why I love it, is because I think it's way too Miami Vice. It's that.
Yes.
It's basically an '80s rock music video, like a Phil Collins video, and
The pacing of it's really
Real,
weird.
because it's
and-
a rock music.
and the lighting of it's really weird. But I can also understand because we can talk about this in the next podcast. But I started watching the TV show Hannibal
Right.
because I really enjoyed this movie. So
yeah,
because
because producer Kayla, help me remember. I wanted, since you've seen now the 3 Hannibals.
What 3 have I seen?
Well, because they're the 3 actors.
Yeah, so you've seen Brian Cox's.
Oh yeah, because I've seen.
Anthony
Yeah,
and-
okay, I
and
see what
Mick-
you're saying.
and
You've seen
I was
all
like,
three.
I thought I only
So-
watched 2 of the movies.
Well, you've seen all 3 versions
Of
Hannibal.
Hannibal Lecter.
Well, except for child Hannibal, but that's fine.
Yeah, that's not-
You don't need him.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
pre-doctor, and so I want to talk about
Okay.
about them because
So I'll save this comment. Then.
right because
Mhm.
I listened to a podcast to research for next week that really opened my eyes to it, and I
Oh,
really want to share that
really?
inside.
I'm really excited.
I
to
didn't
hear
think about it. I didn't think about it until they said. Now that's all I can think about now. So I was
Okay.
like, so.
Okay. I'm excited about that.
All right. So we're watching Silence of the Lambs next week. So come and join us next week.
Join us.
This is Scotty saying this is our contribution to the multiverse. Go out and make yours.
Okay, goodbye.
Bye.